housing bubble. Concern about faulty home lending weighed on the bank's stock in 2011, but it's since rebounded more than 40%. It's now the best performer on the Dow Jones this year. India is proposing setting up a new bank funded by developing nations to finance projects in those countries. Two government officials said the idea has been put to the so-called BRIC nations and will be discussed on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Mexico. Earlier this week, the Asian Development Bank said it needs as much as $13 billion for new projects in poorer nations, as the debt crisis restricts Europe's ability to contribute. Bowing to shareholder pressure, Apple's changed its stance and has agreed to start electing directors by a majority vote. Investors passed the resolution at the company's shareholder meeting, which is the first since CEO Tim Cook took over after the death of Steve Jobs. Apple's also decided what to do with its $100 billion in cash, which may fund the company's first dividend since 1995. Apple shares rose to an all-time high in overnight trade. The former Australian Foreign Minister Kevin Rudd is expected to confirm today whether he'll fight for the Labour Party leadership. Rudd flew back from the United States, saying he will make a statement after conferring with colleagues. He resigned as foreign minister on Wednesday, claiming he no longer has Prime Minister Julia Gillard's backing. She's called a leadership vote for Monday. Well, let's get the latest on this from our Shraysi Tandon. She's live now in Sydney. And Shraysi, this political drama, of course, developing nicely. What's the latest here as we head into the weekend and this announcement?
Good morning, Zeb. Yes, it is the news that is gripping Australia at the moment. It is dominating headlines all over the country. Look here, Australian Financial Review saying Gillard seeking to bury Rudd. The Australian saying the Australian Labour Party is it's burying his own hole, or its own grave, technically. So the latest, Zeb, is that Kevin Rudd has arrived into Australia. He arrived into his hometown of Brisbane this morning at approximately 7:15 a.m. He briefly made a few comments to the media, which I'll bring to you shortly, and but no confirmation as to whether or not he is going to contest the leadership. He did say, however, that he is going to announce a formal presser later this morning or this afternoon, discussing his intentions as to whether or not he is going to contest Julia Gillard on Monday morning. Let's have a listen to what Kevin Rudd had to say earlier today.
My appeal to the Australian Parliamentary Labour Party colleagues and to the Australian people is that this is a decision which requires very careful thinking. What I'm saying directly to the Australian people is, if you have a strong view on the future Prime Ministership of the country, then your power as the people is what will count in the days ahead.
There you have it, Zeb. Strong comments from the former foreign minister, and very reminiscent of what we saw in 2007 with the likes of Kevin 07.
Yeah, Shraysi, strong words there, as you said. It sounds like he's a man who's not going to give up the fight.
Absolutely not, Zeb. I mean, that language there is strong indeed. You see him really pulling at the heartstrings of the Australian public there by reminding them of the coup that happened at midnight, where they really weren't in charge of who the new Prime Minister is currently. And Zeb, really, I just want to quickly break it down to you. What Kevin Rudd really needs on Monday, if he is going to contest this leadership ballot, is he needs the support of 52 out of 103 Labour lawmakers. At the moment, Kevin Rudd has the backing of a few, such as, Resource Minister Martin Ferguson, Manufacturing Minister Kim Carr, but he really needs more in order to win. And so, Zeb, Kevin Rudd is a very charming man. He is extremely popular with the electorate, not very popular with his party. Gillard, on the other hand, very popular with her party, not very popular with the electorate. So we'll really see what happens later today when Kevin Rudd does announce his intentions.
Shraysi, it's going to be an interesting weekend. It's certainly a very interesting vote on Monday. We'll be covering every element there. Shraysi Tandon joining us live from Sydney. Let's turn back to the Asia-Pacific markets. Now, it's been quite a run this week for Asian stocks. The MSCI Asia-Pacific Index enjoying its longest weekly winning streak since the creation back in 1988. And Mia Saini joining us this morning with more. Mia, that's quite an impressive run here.
Over 24 years, Zeb. You know, and really there's three reasons highlighting this rally. Number one, the fact that we are seeing improving signs from the U.S. You and Deborah Costner were just talking about that. Number two, we're also seeing the fact that China may eventually ease their monetary policy, and no doubt that is having a huge trickling effect across this region. And number three,